six that consists of four members. There are Isa Sheila, Nabila, Putri, and Miss Habil. So now we are going to explain advantages and disadvantages of globalization, protection, and free trade. Next slide, please. This is the table of content, the list of topic that we will explain. And then we're gonna jump into the first topic that will explain by myself. Next slide, please. About the globalization advantages, there are six advantages. The first is access to new cultures. Globalization makes it easier than ever to access foreign culture, including food, movies, music, and art. This free flow of people, goods, art, and information is the reason you can have a Thai food delivered to your apartment as you listen to your favorite. Uh, and then the second one is the spread of technology and innovation. Many countries around the world remain constantly connected, so knowledge and technological advances travel quickly. And the third one is lower cost for products. Globalization allows companies to find lower cost ways to produce their products. It also increases global competition, which drives prices down and creates a larger variety of choices for consumers. The fourth one is higher standards of living across of the globe. Developing a nation experience an improved standard of living. And the last one is access to new market. Business gain in a great deal from globalization, including new customer and diverse revenue streams. Companies interested in this benefit looks for flexible and innovative ways to grow their business overseas. I think that's all from globalization advantages, and we'll jump into the globalization disadvantage that will explain by Isasiela.
Thank you, Sabila. So the next part is globalization disadvantages. There's also several negative effects of the globalization. The first is unequal economic growth. Globalization is causing unequal of economic progress for all countries in Indonesia. We can see the classification between rich, developing, and poor countries. In the sense, the economic growth is likely to be more profitable to richer countries than developing countries. And the second, trade imbalance. We know that globalization causes a huge influx of foreign companies into one country at a time. This can lead to inequality in trade, where people will begin to leave local corporate products and choose products for foreign companies because of one thing or another, whether they include the technology of production or just part of the lifestyle. These trade inequalities are causing huge losses for local companies that are slowly losing market and consumers to the point of bankruptcy. If it's like this, it is bad for the trade performance of the country itself. And the last, destroys the environment. Globalization can damage the neighborhood in many ways, such as overharvesting of resources leads to scarcity of produce to pollutants that have adverse effect of the environment. For example, Coca-Cola is the world's leading soft drink company. This company consumes a huge amount of water for making soft drink. In the states of northern India, Uttar Pradesh, a Coca-Cola bottle plant was closed by the government order because of too much usage of water claimed by local farmer. Next, the next part is protection advantages. There are several ways for protecting of a country through globalizations. First is public spending. The dissipation rate of countries greatly affects the country's power to pass through globalization. If the figure is high, the population income rate is high. Countries should provide protection for the percentage of GDP because as country depreciate over GDP, they mean that globalization is struggling financially as a result of one noticeable effect of inflation. To keep state expense high, some countries have done right thing by providing economic support to communities such as insurance. The second is regulation. For people to thrive off age of globalization, local government must take rules which will ensure people's life. Through this regulation, the government can direct individuals, enterprises, and the market towards specific social goals. The regulation that can overt are maybe the labor regulation, housing regulation, banking and credit regulation through public enterprise, and other regulations such as affirmative actions dealing with the disabled, minorities, and etc. And the last, countries reference and future. Governments of one country may also see another as a reference to improving the welfare of communities in globalization. Moreover, the country itself must quickly adapt to new circumstances caused by the globalization so that it can bring out the renewal of systems, regulation, and other.
Okay, I will be explain about the protection disadvantage. Okay, globalization is indeed able to open access in a relationship so that barriers to entry into various countries are reduced. However, the fact is that globalization is always profitable. There are only weaknesses that are disadvantages of this globalization. The first is treasure overstory. Overstory, we know that overstory is the process of moving business operation from one country to another. The goals, of course, is known other to be increased profits with cheaper paid works, and that oversteering is usually come out by multinational companies based in the field countries where their business operation are moved to cheaper work rates. Okay, the second is the spread and transmission of disease. We know that globalization is not only free trade but also freedom of access in the labor market. This means that in international community has the same opportunity to get a job in all countries, and then in the world simply put, workers from various countries can easily get a job in the desired country as long as they meet the recruitment without any significant about risks. This is certainly affect the mobility of more and more people from outside. Next slide, please. Okay, we go to the topic of free trade advantage. There are several free trade advantages. The first is free trade creates opportunity for economic growth. Okay, free trade agreement in North America help the use economic growth and a free rate of 0.5% per year, more than issued when countries can freely move product across border. Your country can take advantage of the manufacturing, commercial, and industrial strength of the every another economic in the agreement. That means there are lower costs to worry about with every transaction, prices stay lower, and there can be fair competition in the market. And the second is there are more opportunity for foreign direct investment. When countries remove existing barrier to free trade, more a company are willing to invest in other countries. There are new investment, partnership, and opportunity that thrive because of the ease approach in market of any size. Okay, the last one, it lowers the taxes that consumer and business pay. We know that the inclusion of tax investment protection in free trade agreement make it possible to grow to interests of local business owner more efficiently. When the structure disappear, then the result trend to favor the customer because more competition from global aggregation can happen at the level of competition. Okay, the next topic will be explained by Nabila. Nabila, that is yours.
Thank you, Putri, for the opportunities. So we jump to the last topic, which is free trade disadvantages. Free trade disadvantages contains of the first one is free trade create more jobs. Free trade is to blame for 20% of all job losses in the world today. For example, there are many small local businesses have to close their store because there are so many import goods and customers prefer to use import things that automatically stop their income. The second one is it encourages more urbanization because it is more effective to let factory farms handle the food supply. Feed trade promotes families to shift away from agricultural jobs. They promoting urbanization and reducing the amount of money saved through efforts to keep trading lanes open. The third one is environment protection are minimal in free trade. In this case, for some countries have proposed to making benefit for them by taking advantages by exploitation other countries' resources, such as forest exploitation, mining, and also sea resources. And the last one is the international or I mean competition between international and domestic economy that it is increased productivity in other countries might cause induce the change to grow, putting more pressure on the total market in some industries. Okay. So the conclusion is every part of 3 points has their own advantages and disadvantages. It all back to us to use it with responsibility. The overall advantages and disadvantages of globalization, protection, free trade are things we need to aware and take action carefully. For example, the overall advantages and disadvantages of free trade show that when multiple countries can work together to create mutual benefits, then the global economy can gain strength. Otherwise, it gives bad impact too. So that's all for our group. Thank you very much.